Welcome to the Empowered Wealth Podcast, where we're redefining what financial independence looks like for women. I'm your host, Donna Cates, and each week we'll dive into powerful stories, expert strategies, and practical tools to help you take charge of your financial future. Whether you're planning for retirement, navigating a divorce, or simply looking to build your wealth with confidence, this is your space to grow, learn, and thrive. Let's get started with today's podcast. I'm excited to introduce you to Poonam Bhuchar with Bhuchar Law. And I'm hoping I did that okay, but I'm really excited today to delve deep into your career journey. So if you can just take about 90 seconds and give us an overview of what it is you do and why you got into it, that would be awesome.
Sure, Donna. Thank you so much for having me. So I've been an attorney for 25 years. I practice corporate immigration and family law, and I had my own practice. 18 months ago, I cut down my practice and I practice corporate immigration part-time. And the reason I cut it down was because I had this soul calling towards I call divorce coaching. Having been through a divorce myself and represented clients, I know the system's broken. And I also know that marriage is much more than the destruction of a marriage. It's a loss of your identity, your finances. It's actually one of the most stressful things outside of death. It's a different type of grieving. So I've gotten into divorce coaching, but I do it in a very different way. I was author of an Amazon bestseller called Safe from the Pain, in which I discuss my own healing under what I devised the SAFE method. And I use that method to emotionally help people walk through what they're feeling in their divorce, understand why they've come to where they've come to, and then helping them navigate those legal decisions. It's not legal advice, but it's based on my 25 years of legal knowledge, navigating those legal decisions, whether it's child custody, financial planning. Do I move out of the house? Do I want to move states? Do I want to go live near my family? Navigating all those things, feeling emotionally sound under my SAFE method, and ultimately leading to two things: reduction of legal fees, which is really important, and the reduction of generational trauma that goes on.
Oh, I love it. So, and you were singing my tune here with the work that I do with navigating the financial aspects of
Right.
divorce, and you couldn't have said that better about you reducing the legal fees as well as the turmoil or the generational impact from the divorce. So kudos to you. So you're still doing a little bit of immigration law, but you're focusing primarily on the divorce coaching.
Yeah, I speak about it. I've spoken at it at different events and, news channels, because I think it needs to change. The way divorce is being done has to change.
Tell me a little bit about what you're doing differently to make that change.
So I think, I don't think it's so much I think it's not just the paperwork. You have to look at the pre, the during, and the post. And each of those stages requires different things. So it's not that everybody that comes to me gets divorced. There are people who are thinking about it. And often when I go through the SAFE method, the emotional component, they realize that it's actually they're projecting certain insecurities they have on their partner that they need to go and resolve. So instead, they're like, well, hold on a minute. Maybe I don't want to get divorced. Maybe I want to work on this first, and I can help them do that. I am not a therapist. I'm a coach. And just through 25 years of my own different types of trauma that I've healed on my own, I've navigated and helped people walk through that. And I think that is the biggest component, because when you go being a lawyer, when you're a lawyer, you have to look at a divorce as a business transaction. I don't have the time, even if I really wanted to try, and I did try, to delve into the family values, to delve into what your family dynamics are and what it is that you're seeking. All I know is that I've got these dates. I need to file these motions if things aren't happening. And I need to get this moving because the judge is hammering that why is this case not settled, right? And I've got other clients and I can't sit there as much as I'd want to do the things that I would like to help you, even though I did of my own accord. The therapists can talk about therapy, and I'm not knocking therapists, but they don't know how that comes in with the legal component. And I think it's the bridge between the two.
Absolutely. And I've always understood it to be, the therapist is actually going back and healing, helping you heal from past trauma, where more of what you're doing as a coach is helping people through the process in the present time and getting themselves positioned and prepared for whatever they choose to create for themselves after divorce.
Absolutely. And some of it is going back to your past, right? How did you end up here? What were your expectations? What is your view of money? Why are you holding on to the home? I've done it. I've held on to a home I should never have held on to because I had no family in the country. My kids were 4 and 6. And instead of short selling the home, I tried to hold on to it. I lost all my alimony money. I lost the house ultimately and had to start from scratch in 2012. So, but that decision was an emotional decision. Had someone walked me through that, I would have thought very differently.
Right. And the hindsight's 2020. That's the thing that makes it so hard. And I would imagine it's part of why you're so passionate about helping others avoid those mistakes.
Yeah, I've actually, in doing that, I'm creating, I've created and continue to create a concierge service. So financial planners, one of the biggest things that I'm passionate about, because I did lose my home and I went on to buy a beautiful home after that. But it's, people get stuck in their houses. Sometimes they're underwater and they think the only way out is to have it foreclosed or sold. But there are other ways, and I'm working with teams to help people navigate this in a different way so that they don't get their credit affected and they can just walk away from the house and go and live their lives. And obviously it's case to case. I'm working with wealth planning people in order to deal with high net worth clients to help them make those emotional decisions in the realms of divorce. So yeah, there's a lot to it.
Right, absolutely. And I always tell people too that, everybody when they're divorcing, they automatically think of the lawyer, but it literally takes a village of professionals to help you navigate all of the different pieces and make smart, informed decisions. So kudos to you for being that support person for folks.
Well,
So tell me, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to say you too, Donna. The financial component is huge, especially for women.
Right. And that's why I'm passionate about what I do. I always remind women, we are all smart, intelligent people. We're raising families, we're running businesses or professions, what have you. But a lot of times we just take the back seat when it comes to the money stuff until life happens, and then we're front and center having to deal with it and not necessarily prepared. So that's kind of why I do the work that I do. But I would love to hear, as a divorce coach, it's a building, career or profession, I believe. Where do you see the industry going in the next 5 to 10 years? And how are you staying on top of that or actually helping to create what it might look like?
Well, I want to create what it might look like in the corporate world as well as generically, because in the corporate world, in dealing with high-end executives, I'm finding still men and women, I represent both clients, finding it very hard to go to their bosses and say that they're going through a divorce. Their work is being affected, but because they're worried about being viewed a particular way or being on the first round of layoffs, they don't speak up. So they'd rather make it look like their work is being affected. And I think, and this is what I have spoken at corporations about, I think it needs to be changed. We get family leave for birth and death. Why not divorce? Why is that something that we don't take into consideration when we've got maybe, a dad who's never had to go and pick up the kids, all of a sudden having to go pick up the kids and manage his schedule, and a mum who's never dealt with the finances, or maybe is now taking on, the traditional role, the man and the woman, and having additional things to do, and maybe needs the schedule to be revised. So that's one angle. The other angle is keeping on top of it is just, I mean, let's just take a look at the statistics now, the amount of gray divorces that are happening in the Generation X. I mean, it's a big number that is coming about, and I think that number is only going to increase because look at where we are: financial pressures, inflation, people are fed up, and that all feeds into the marriage in some shape or form. So I think we need to take into consideration, what does divorce look like for 50 plus adults? It's very different to somebody that has children. Do we really need to drag them through the court system, right? Or do we need to do this through mediation, some kind of collaborative approach, or even using my safe method and divorce coaching and helping them reduce the legal fees, create less generational trauma amongst adult children whose parents are getting divorced? Because I think there's this notion out there that just because kids are adults in their early 20s, that they're not affected by their parents getting married, divorced, and it's absolutely not true. I almost think it's worse than me having my 4 and 6-year-old and being divorced. They have different challenges, but I don't think it's that cut and dry. And I hate people constantly saying, and I know that's a really strong word to say, but I really despise people constantly saying kids are resilient, because it's not true. I always say that as adults, we need therapy. We go through so many emotions when we're going through a divorce. Why do we think our kids can get through it
without the same kind of
yeah,
support, right?
it just blows my mind.
I agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more. And I have to share this personally. My husband, we've been married 30 years.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. And it is my second marriage,
Oh,
his
wow.
first. But he speaks on a very regular basis about his parents' divorce. They divorced when he was young. They got remarried to each other,
Oh,
and
wow.
then divorced again,
Gosh.
and then got back together when he and I got married. So
Wow.
and so you can't talk about how adult children not being impacted by divorce. It's just, it's cuckoo. So
Wow.
everybody is impacted, right?
What an amazing story. Wow.
I know, right? It is. It is. It's what we call special. But listen, I would love to shift gears a little bit and just learn a little bit more about what's been your biggest challenge that you faced to this point in life, whether it's professional or personal, and how that shaped the way you're doing this business today.
Wow, that's a loaded question. Okay, my biggest challenge, I think, has been was probably 12 years ago, well, 13, 14 years ago, when I lost everything. I was an attorney. I was doing really well at work, but I wouldn't let anybody know what was going on inside, right?
Mm.
And I found it very hard to ask for help, and I still do.
Mm.
And in having very high-end mentors in the industry, who constantly say, if you don't ask, you're not going to get. I think that has been my constant challenge in life. I'd like to say I'm getting a little better at it as time goes on. But I also think that in these scenarios, it's the shame that we carry, right? So I came from the South Asian culture. I was one of the first people, I was the only person in my family to get divorced, only in my family circle, friend circle. And there's a shame that you carry, whether it's your fault or not. So you tend to just push it down and think it's not going to rise up. But for me, it did. It manifested physically. I had 2 strokes. I've had multiple surgeries. I lost everything, but then I went on to build a 7-figure law firm. I traveled the world with my kids. They've gone to college. But it really was about going within and being confident within, not needing that validation, and being able to ask for help when needed.
That's a lot. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. And I think it's really important for women to hear that, because we're all in a different space and we're all experiencing whatever it is that we're dealing with. But the bottom line is we're still human beings and we're emotional beings. So we have to process, right? So, wow.
Absolutely.
Well, I would love to ask, if you could have lunch with any one person, living or deceased, who would that be and why?
Oh my gosh. You know who I think it would be?
Tell me.
She's deceased. It would be Mother Teresa.
Okay.
I think I would want to know what kept her going even when she had nothing to go for, and how she was so forgiving, loving, and constantly giving, and changed so many people's lives.
Wow. Yeah.
Having very little in the beginning.
And I would love to sit at that lunch table with you. That would be a good conversation. Awesome. Well, I would love for you to share with our audience the best way for them to contact you if they want to work with you or just learn more about the work that you're doing.
Yeah, so obviously you can go to my LinkedIn profile. I also have a website, emotionallysafe.com. There's a contact page there. You've also got a free lead magnet. If anyone wants a free copy of my book, I'm happy to email it to them PDF. Just email me at Poonam, my first name, at emotionallysafe.com.
Perfect. And I would encourage everybody to get that book. It sounds like an awesome resource. And that's what we're here for, is to provide people with the resources that they need. So,
absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you being a guest today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Donna. I appreciate you for having me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for tuning in to the Empowered Wealth Podcast. I hope today's conversation left you feeling inspired, informed, and ready to take the next step in your financial journey. Remember, building wealth isn't just about money. It's also about creating a life that aligns with your goals and values. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with the women in your life who deserve financial empowerment too. Until next time, stay confident, stay empowered, and keep building the life you desire.